Hi again, everyone. This is your professor, and today I am recording a very live tutorial. So do excuse me if there's going to be, any mistakes or something like that. This is purely live, so it's not going to be performed. Okay, so with this app that I'm using, I can't toggle, which means switch in between screens. I have to focus on one because this gaming function will not let you record on a desktop. So you're going to find part 1 and part 2 of this tutorial. So we're just going to start briefly um, with talking about steps that you should take when you're beginning your research. So this is going to be part 1. Okay? So I have to stay on the screen. So that's it for part 1. Part 2, I'm going to take you to Google, as you can see here at the bottom. I'm going to take you to Google, and I'm going to show you pretty much how to do some research and basically everything that you need to know at this point. Okay, so here we go. If the audio sounds a little bit weird, that's because I have to use my microphone so you don't hear background noise. We're very loud people, so there's a lot of activity going on outside. Anyway, so now I just made this assignment up so that you can kind of see, if I were a student, what steps that I would take. Now, here in this section, most of you know that your header should be on the right side. If it's on the left side, it's not going to bother me that much, even though you know how hard I am with format, because this is actually the way that sometimes we used to do it. If you hear noise in the background, sorry, they're cutting the grass. It feels like summer here. Anyway, so yeah, you can also have it on the right side, have it on the right side. What you'll see here, I presented about in the last lesson. So this is MLA format. So technically you are supposed to number your pages. So you use your last name and then the page number. Now with let me take this up so you can see it. So with a header, whatever you put in your header is going to be the same for every page, okay? Which is why some of you, for your essays, your process analysis essays, you put your header in your header area here. No, you can't do that. You're not supposed to, because it's just going to repeat everything on all the pages. So as you can see, everything is the same. So that doesn't make sense. So what you can do when you click on header, for those of you who are using Microsoft Word, do you see here where it says page number? So you would click on page number, and if you were not writing your name with it, then you could choose a location. Okay, otherwise I'm going to choose current position because that's where I want it. And then I'm just going to use simply a plain number. And then that's how you insert page numbers. So if you don't do this for your argumentative essay, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I want you to focus more so on the standard essay format and, of course, the content. But if you don't get the MLA format perfect when it comes to the whole essay, that's okay. So anyway, so that's there, and some extra information for you. I'm going to model what I always tell you. I always tell you to put everything in Times New Roman in 12-point font. This is great because I get to show you in real time what you're supposed to do. And for those of you having issues with the extra spacing in between your paragraphs, what you need to do, I mean, if you just hit Control-2, like I'm going to do here, and you double space, you see that extra space that's in between the paragraphs? Sorry, this turned into a formatting demo, but I really want to address the situation. Okay, you're not supposed to have that extra space. No. You wouldn't want to have an extra space in between the paragraphs. Okay, in this case, these aren't paragraphs, but you know what I mean. So I'm just going to go back to where I was. Okay, That's just regular single space. Now you see those extra spaces. When I do double space, it's going to be too much. And what I did to get back, I hit Control 2 for double space, Control 1 to get back to single space. And if you ever need to do 1.5 space, you hit Control 5. Okay, but we don't really use that. So Control 1 or Control 2. So go here to where it says Layout. This is for those of you using Microsoft Word. If you're using Google Docs, I think it's a little bit different. Anyway, so Layout, okay. In this case, this would be filled out, so I just messed that up. But anyway, so everything should be at 0, okay? And then once you do that, everything is perfect, okay? So that's what you need to do in order to get those extra spaces out of the area between your paragraphs so that everything is nice and double spaced as it's supposed to be, no extra spacing. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, let me do this. I'm just hitting the undo button because I want it to be like I had it. Okay, anyway, so formatting done. All right, great. So now let's talk about the content. So right now we're doing research methods, the introduction to research methods. And very briefly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about argumentative essays at the same time while showing you, how you start with your research. So your research process does not have to be as formal as this. You see, like outline and all that. You don't have to do it this way. You can write it down on a piece of paper. You can type it up any way. Most of you already know that I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to always kind of be extra. But also for teaching purposes, I wanted you to see this. So, okay, let's pretend that my assignment given to me by Professor Hypothetical is about climate change. And my professor has told us that we can write an argumentative essay on any subject related to climate change. So the topic is basically climate change. My professor allowed us to really pretty much write about whatever we want, but within climate change. So now you as the student have to come up with a specific topic because you can write a whole book about climate change. It's too broad. You have to choose a topic within. So I chose, most interestingly, I chose COVID-19, the coronavirus. And because this is an actual topic, and I wrote COVID-19 is benefiting the climate. Of course, this is just for my information. This is an outline. You would not write it this way. This is not your thesis or anything like that. That's just the topic. And I'm writing it, of course, in present progressive because it's happening right now. Once COVID-19, inshallah, ends, then this would be past, something in the past. So you can use present perfect, okay? Like COVID-19 has had an effect, on climate change, has had a positive effect on climate change, or whatever you want to. Anyway, that's not the most important part. Okay, so great. I have my topic. Now I need to do a thesis statement. Okay, remember what I said in the last lesson. If you don't know anything about your topic, nothing, then you would have to do your research first. Okay, I'm here. Okay. Then you would have to do your research first and then write your thesis statement. However, in your case, especially for an argumentative essay, you should already have an opinion because that's what an argumentative essay is. It's an opinion, and you're just expressing yourself logically, right? So if you already have an opinion, you should be able to write your thesis statement first. And I really feel like that's better because then you know where you need to go with your research questions. And then, of course, when you actually brainstorm further into your essay. So now what we've learned up to this point is brainstorming, writing your thesis, writing an outline, and then writing your essay. Now, in the case that you have to do research for your essay, there's an extra step, okay, which is what we'll see in just a moment, the research question, or just research in general. So in that case, your steps will depend on how much you know about your topic, right? So for example, maybe some of you would, of course, brainstorm your topic, just like we did in class, a bubble chart or jotting down some information, however you want to do it, doesn't matter, as long as you brainstorm. And then writing your thesis, okay, and then doing your research, okay, then writing your outline, and then writing your essay. Or for those of you who have no idea what you're writing about or don't know much about the topic, you would do your brainstorm first, then you would do your research, okay? At this point, you may not write too many research questions. Your research questions will probably be very vague, not a lot of information, because you don't really know what you're doing. Then, after that, after doing your research, you should write your thesis. And then, again, you should do your research because you should be now more specific about what exactly you need to research. So if you don't know, you have to research twice, or you should research twice. And then you do your outline, and then you write your essay. Okay, so now we have come to the final part of our course. Now you should put everything together. Now this doesn't mean that at this point you are a perfect writer, and that also doesn't mean that this is everything. This is everything when it comes to the framework of writing and research. There are still, I'm sure my audio is okay. There are still many different aspects that you have to remember and take into account, but it's a process, okay? You're not going to learn everything in one semester. It's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of experience on your part to get better with writing and research. So do not feel overwhelmed at this point, feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to get all of it together now. No, you don't. But as long as you know the steps, and this is the final one for us, as long as you know the steps, then you can go from there. So in my case, it's an argument and I already know my opinion. I don't need to do pre-research. I'm ready. So I wrote my thesis statement. And here, as you can see, it says COVID-19 has caused the world great strife and stress. However, this global pandemic has come at a time when the environment desperately needed a break, and the COVID-19 global pandemic is significantly helping humanity. Okay, remember what I said about a thesis? It's only one sentence. Okay, one sentence. But I did combine two independent clauses with my semicolon there. Can you see that? That semicolon in bold there. Okay, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine in this situation. It's still considered one sentence. And if you know how to write more advanced sentences, you can get more into your thesis. Now, you notice the words that I've highlighted, right? Strife and stress, desperately, significantly. These are strong words because I'm writing an argumentative essay. Now, if you were writing any other type of essay, like process analysis or cause and effect, I'll go back to what we've discussed. These would be too strong because they're very subjective. They're very subjective, opinionated, very opinionated words, right? So this wouldn't be appropriate if we want to be objective, keeping to the facts. Even your language needs to be objective. In this case, it's argumentative. It's opinionated. I can be a little bit more subjective and opinionated. I just want you to remember the word subjective with my speech. And you should be, because it's an argument. It's not persuasive, so to speak. It's argument. And let me quickly make that point. Persuasive, I'm trying to coax you into believing in what I believe in, okay? Or doing whatever I want you to do, right? So I'm going to use softer language. Remember, we talked about this in class, like should, okay? I'm not putting should in here because it's arguing. I'm taking out should, and I'm saying, no, this is what it is, okay? Now, because you use strong opinions and language in an argumentative essay, you have to back it up. And this is why I left the research part for the argumentative essay, okay? Because I think this will be a good introduction for you to learn research and citations, because it's a little bit more interesting because you get to base it off of your opinion, okay? And not mine, yours. So I think that'll motivate you a little bit more. Now, I have my thesis, so now it's time to continue with my research. And when you make your research questions, okay, whether you do it here on the computer or you write them down, however you want to, you need to remember, what information do I need to understand my topic better? Okay, so when you're doing research, you are grocery shopping in a sense. You're trying to find out what ingredients do you need to make this dish, aka your essay. So what information do you need to understand the topic better? Okay, for you yourself, okay, and then also to prove your point. And that's the next question. What information do I need in order to prove my point to the audience? So when you're making an argument, anybody can argue. We argue all the time. But your argument isn't strong unless you can back it up. So when a reader reads your paper, you know, someone who is objective, someone who might be an expert on the topic, is going to look at your sources to see, where are you getting this information from? Or is this even true? So you have to be careful to make sure that, you know, you're using logic. And we'll talk more about the process of argumenting well in the next lesson. But for right now, I'm just giving you a brief introduction to argumentative essays, but I'm mostly focusing on the research part. Okay? So anyway, now that brings me to another point before we get into the research questions. Okay? I'm going to skip around because I want it to make logical sense before we start researching, because I'm going to switch the tutorial soon. You see on this page, works cited. Now, for me personally, years ago, when I used to write my essays, I did exactly this. I'm not making this up. Like, I did this. I would write my outline, research questions, and I would have my document already set up with this page. Your citation page, also known as works cited, is the last page of your document. So if your essay is 5 pages long, we don't use cover pages. If your essay is 5 pages long, then your 6th page is going to be the works cited page. Now, there's different names. Works cited, okay, this is for MLA format. Okay, MLA format, Modern Language Association. And this is what we're focusing on because for your major, it's the most important. So this is MLA style, works cited. Works cited means that all of the information that you list, all of this information was actually cited in your essay. That means that, for example, let's pretend like this was a paragraph, right? Let's just pretend. Let's just pretend that this is not a thesis statement. Hopefully you're paying attention. Pretend. And this was part of my essay. An internal citation would look like this. Let's say I'm quoting myself, okay? Murray, that's my last name, and maybe I found this information on pages 34 to 37 of her article book, whatever. That is what we call an internal citation, okay? This is an internal citation. It's always in parentheses for MLA format. Internal citation. So that means on my works cited page that everything that I actually cited in my essay will be listed here, okay? Only that information. Now, here's the maybe tricky part for some of you. Maybe not. I'm sure you've heard of a bibliography. And you can do a bibliography for an MLA, for any style, whether it's MLA, APA, Chicago, doesn't matter. Bibliography means that it is all of the works. When we say works, that means like all the essays, articles, videos, whatever, it doesn't matter. All the works that you cited and all either the works or sources that you consulted. So for example, let's say you don't know much about a topic, right? And maybe your professor knows that you don't know much about a topic. So your professor expects you to do extensive research. You would use a bibliography, okay? And the reason why you'd use a bibliography is because whether your professor knows or not, you're going to have to maybe do so much research that you're going to have to learn something new. Okay, you have to learn it like it's a subject. You have to learn it new. And a bibliography consults everything that helped you to learn in order to write this essay. Okay, some of the sources you cited, some of the sources you did not, because it just helped you learn about the topic. Okay, let's say I didn't know anything about climate change. In my bibliography, I would list all the documentaries I watched, even if it was on YouTube. If I had some DVDs at home, or I went to the library and watched some videos, and I'm saying videos because that's our reality, a lot of electronic resources. All the books that I read on the topic, all the newspaper articles, all of that I would use. The most important, of course, I would use in my bibliography. Sometimes bibliographies can be 2 pages long, 3 pages long. Like I said, that's if you're doing extensive research, like, master's or PhD. For your level, I think a page would be pretty awesome if you guys can do that. And that's bibliography. So that's up to you. As long as you're doing it correctly, I don't care whether you use works cited or bibliography. I honestly don't care. I think that a bibliography would tell me more about your process, and I think that would be good for you to go above and beyond and do that. For those of you who aren't feeling too motivated and you just kind of want to get this done, you want to be done with this semester, hey, I understand you. Just go for the works cited, but do know that sometime in your college career or your actual career, you will have to do a bibliography. Okay, so that's the note about works cited and bibliography. References, I mentioned references, that's used for APA style, and we're not doing APA, we're doing MLA. So works cited or bibliography, those are the 2 titles that you should use, one of the 2. Okay, so back to my research questions. So this is the kind of information that I need to focus on so that I can write my outline effectively. So what activities have stopped due to COVID-19? Okay, so this would explain, what is it exactly has stopped that has made the climate better? Why do these normal activities cause environmental problems? Okay, so this question is like background information. Because even if I know the answer, maybe someone in my audience does not. Okay, Or maybe someone who wants to debate me with this argument will make the argument that, oh, this essay does not include background information, so therefore it's ineffective. It's trash, basically. So you should include background information. I think we've touched on that before. Now, do you present this background information in your introduction? That's up to you. That is up to you. Again, just like the cause and effect, if you feel like you can write an essay very well and just put a few sentences in your introduction paragraph for background, cool, go for it. If you feel like for your topic you need to write more about the background because it's maybe a complex or complicated topic, then I would say dedicate an entire paragraph to the background information. That is completely up to you. Now, in this next essay, you are required to write an introduction paragraph, 3 full body paragraphs or more. Okay, if you want to, you can, and a conclusion. So your essay is at least 5 paragraphs. This is not a short essay, right? So in this case, you are doing a full essay. You might write at least, I don't know, some of your level maybe not ready, but I'm going to give you a broad spectrum of 500 to 1,000 words. I really think by this point, and with this kind of topic, not topic, but if this kind of essay, you should be able to get up close to 1,000 words. So that means I expect your introduction paragraph to be more than 2 or 3 sentences. You're at the level where your paragraph should be 5 to 8 quality sentences by now. So you can dedicate 3 to 4 sentences in your introduction paragraph to your background, okay, by itself, just background. You still have a hook, you still have a thesis. So that's a longer introduction paragraph. You can do that. And then you can focus more on your how in your thesis, your reason, I should say. You can focus more on that in your body, okay? My suggestion. If you're going to do a background paragraph, you can do that and then still write 2 good body paragraphs. If you feel like, no, I need to write another one, you can have 4 body paragraphs. The 5 body paragraph is basically to help teach you what to do with an essay, but that's not where it stops. Beyond the introductory level of college, you are expected to write, pages. And when we say pages, that means you're not always going to have 3 body paragraphs. You might have 5. You might have 6. You could have 10. I mean, it just depends. But you understand the structure, of course. Anyway, before I keep drolling on, number 2, what improvements to the climate have actually been made and why? Okay, so I'm going to need to find some information on what those actual improvements are. Otherwise, I don't have an argument. Okay, so that's another point. Make sure that you have an argument. I mean, that should be common sense, but apparently common sense is not common. So if you don't find any information about your argument, don't try to be brave for this essay, because I don't have a whole lot of time to go back and forth with you for this essay. Pretty much, you're not going to get feedback on this. Once you submit your portfolio, I'm just going to grade it, and that's it. It's over. So if you're trying to be creative, you might want to tell me about that before you write your essay. Otherwise, go with an established argument. Don't make something up, because you can really get yourself in trouble. Because there's no research to do, because it's not even an argument. So make sure it makes logical sense, okay? Number 3, counter argument. And I'll present about this when we talk about argumentative essays. So a counter argument is the argument that goes against yours. And in order to make a strong argumentative essay, you have to present your counter argument, because that shows that you understand both sides. That shows that you're prepared to argue, and it shows that you're open-minded. So when you present present your counter argument, you describe it and then you refute it. Refute. Let me write that word for you. Refute it. So in this case, when you refute something, you oppose it. Okay, with logic, obviously. Okay, so you should always, when you're doing an argumentative essay, you should always put your counter argument as part of your research. What are others saying? Okay, that strengthens your argument and makes you look good too. All right. Now, will you dedicate an entire paragraph to this? It's up to you. Remember that you can't present new information in your conclusion, so you're not going to present the counter argument in your conclusion. You're not going to. Let me make that very clear. Not going, all caps, not going to put in the conclusion. No. Okay? You're not going to put that in the conclusion. So don't think of this paragraph as a burden, because when you present the counter argument, you have to refute it. So you're still giving your opinion, right? So for example, when we look at the counter argument for me, I'll tell you, a little bit about that, how I might refute it. Okay. All right. So anyway, then the fourth question I have, self-reflection. Okay. So this one, it would be in the conclusion. Yeah. So you've given your, okay, that's all caps. So you've already given your argument, and now we're at the conclusion. So we need to summarize it, and we also need to just end it out well, so we leave a good impression on our audience. So why is this this topic important for a general audience? You should think about that, but really, honestly, that's not just important for the conclusion. That's important for the entire essay from your thesis. You should have thought about that way before you got to this point. Okay, this question is here because maybe you want to reiterate it to the audience. Maybe you want to, repeat it, remind them why this is an important topic. What point am I trying to make? Okay, again, this is something that you would have needed to thought about in the beginning when you wrote your thesis. But again, you might want to remind the audience. Do you see where I'm getting with this? Kind of sounds like you're restating your thesis. Kind of sounds like you're paraphrasing your thesis, right? Yeah, there you go. Now, after you paraphrase your thesis, you can choose to give a little opinion about, about the topic. You can give your evaluation. Did I spell that right? What was happening? That is interesting that Google is not, it's not Google, sorry. Didn't catch that. That is strange. Okay, anyway, so you can give your evaluation, advice, or a warning. I think in my case, for my topic, I think the most appropriate for me would be a warning. Okay. But anyway, so you can give any of that. But remember, your opinion through the entire essay is always in what? Third person. Third person. Third person. No I, no we, no you. Some of you still did that in your essays. Come on, guys. Pay attention. No first person. Unless the professor says it's okay, no first person, ever. Okay? And of course, the most important part of your conclusion, your last sentence or two, In this case, it helps your argument leave a lasting impression on the audience, okay? So today we're going to focus on the body. We're trying to get some research for the body, okay? As you can see, we're already at about 35 minutes. But that's okay, because now you know more about the argumentative essay and then the research process, okay? So this is the thinking that you should do, right? So now in the next tutorial, I'm going to take you through some examples of how I would start my research and how to cite the source. Again, I can't toggle in between, so when I show it to you, for right now, or not right now, during that time, you'll have to imagine me, putting together the works cited page. So maybe I'll do a part 3. Told you this is live, so I'm going to make some mistakes. I might do a part 3 and show you what the works cited page will look like real time on my side. Okay, guys, get ready for the next tutorial. You might need a break at this point. That's perfectly fine. If you have not already, please write down your questions so you can ask me during one of our Q&A sessions. Write down your questions now. Okay, thank you for your attention.